Let's ride.
Time for the words that are recited before each and every game here at Dodger Stadium. Take it away, Finn.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
What is going on, Dodgers fans? Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Incline Dodgers podcast. We are presented by FanSided, and your Los Angeles Dodgers are 76-33 while we are recording in the middle of the finale against the Twins. So they might have a chance to improve their winning streak to 10 games because this offense is relentless. And despite being down 4-2, they're now tied as I'm doing the introduction. So thank you guys so much for listening. Like I said, your Dodgers are hot right now. I don't even need to track the NL West standings at this point because it's over, baby. Your Dodgers swept the Giants. They swept the Padres. They are on a roll right now. And finally, Ben Verlander conceding and nominating the Dodgers as the number 1 seed. It's about damn time. So first off, I want to start the show with just really solidifying and commending how great Julio Urías has been for the Dodgers this season. 12-6, 2.49 ERA. He's won his last 9 decisions. That's over 10 starts. A 2.53 ERA during that span. His fastball spin rate is in the 98th percentile, up in the upper echelon, 94% curve spin, and he has the walks under control. Even when he's in a little bit of a tight situation, he gets out of it. And I'm going to open the show with this take. Entering the postseason, he's my game 1 starter. I will now pass it over to David Rosenthal. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Kevin. Thank you. And it's a very, very good take, and I completely agree with you. I think he is, as of right now, the ace of this staff. He has been the most consistent pitcher all year. Yes, Tony Gonsolin has been pretty much consistent. Tyler Anderson has been arguably just as consistent. But I think overall in the playoffs, factoring in his pure stuff, and the experience that he's had in 2020, he is the number 1 starter. He's earned that right. And I think it'd be wise for the Dodgers to kind of manage his innings the rest of the way. I think last year we kind of saw a little bit of burnout from him. It was just him and Buehler pretty much for a significant, stretch of the year at some point last year. Throw Scherzer in there and then he can't pitch in the playoffs, and it was just 2 guys. So I think it would be wise to kind of monitor his starts when you get into September and late August. Maybe skip him one time, maybe give him 6 days, call up someone from the minors, do a 6-man rotation a little bit once you officially clinch the division for sure, and kind of roll with him. I do think he's the game 1 starter.
I think right now
Jake Reiner.
No. Go ahead. Introduce me.
Jake Reiner, as you all know, go spill the beans. Fire away.
Yeah, I agree with all what you're saying. I mean, it's really no debate. It's Julio Urías. He is the ace of this staff. He also is the guy you want on the mound, not only for game 1, but for potential game 5 or game 7. With the season on the line, is there any other pitcher right now on this Dodger staff that you want starting that game? And I don't think that there is. You can make an argument for Tyler Anderson or Tony Gonsolin, but given Julio's track record as a big-time postseason pitcher, you have to go with him. You just have to. Still question mark if Walker Buehler's coming back. What can Kershaw give you? So those are some question marks there. And we know Dustin May is close to returning as well. But those are a bunch of question marks that you can't rely on, and you can rely on Julio. So yeah, that's a good take. I'll back that take all the way to the end. I think right now with the Dodgers, we kind of were touching on a little bit, but it's about managing injuries and making sure that nobody else gets hurt. Managing innings for pitchers. I've always liked the idea of doing a 6-man rotation, especially if you are wanting to give your starters a rest and maybe you start doing a little bit more piggybacking. Who knows? I mean, you could go Dustin May along with Julio Urías if you want to do that sort of piggybacking thing to get Dustin May ramped up, but also to relieve Julio Urías a little bit. Also on the offensive side, I mean, you just hope that nobody gets hurt, because right now this team is ready to roll into October right now. I mean, I don't see anybody in the National League that is going to take them out at this rate. I mean, I just don't see any other team that's better than them. And similarly in the American League, I don't see any other team that's better than them. So it's just about keeping these guys healthy and sharp. That's it.
Winners of their last 31 of 36 games played. Maybe they're going to do another 42-8 or 43-7 type of stretch. It's very possible in the cards. And the rest of the regular season is going to be kind of a cakewalk, keep guys healthy. But what I'm more intrigued about is when the Dodgers get into the postseason, how they're going to set their rotation. As we just mentioned, Urías is a lock to start. I imagine once Kershaw is activated off the IL and gets stretched out again, he's probably your game 2 or game 3 starter. I would say unless he falls off the cliff and just regresses hard, Tony Gonsolin is your other starter. So now that 4th spot, this is where I think they're going to mix and match. Maybe Tyler Anderson or Dustin May starts the game, goes 4 or 5 innings, and now you can bring out Andrew Heaney or Walker Buehler if he's healthy and just get very crazy and essentially shorten the game, because you could have 2 starters go in one game. Hopefully that takes you to the 7th or 8th inning. Now you got Evan Phillips and Blake trying to just lock it down. And that's what I'm hoping that the Dodgers are able to do in the postseason.
The good news is that Tyler Anderson and Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin all have experience coming out of the bullpen. So none of that will be new for them.
Yeah, I don't know how you keep Tyler Anderson out of the lineup, out of the rotation in the playoffs. I mean, he's been not quite as good as Urías, but pretty much right there with Julio Urías.
Only like a couple bad starts. But
yeah,
that's it.
He had 1 or 2 kind of clunker type starts. I think it's just 1, honestly. But other than that, he's been incredibly effective. I think he is your game 2 starter, frankly.
Have a hard time going with him over Kershaw, because Kershaw has the postseason experience and is battle tested, as opposed to Anderson, who really has not been in that type of dance yet.
Yeah, it's just we don't know what Kershaw's going to be when he comes back. You know, we don't know how long this injury is going to be. We don't know if he's going to have time to build up, how effective he's going to be. And Tyler Anderson seems like the kind of guy who is kind of ready for the playoffs. I mean, he's been on bad teams pretty much his whole career. Doesn't look like he gets fazed by anything much, by much of anything. He kind of has that Chris Taylor personality where he's just kind of existing and not really fazed by anything, and doesn't really have a personality, at least on the field, except when he shoved, I think it was Ian Happ down. And that's the kind of shit you want from a playoff starter. And I don't think you can leave him out of at least the first 3 of the playoff rotation.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to Anderson or Gonsolin as your game 3 starter, in my opinion, and they're going to just have to outpitch each other, and that's where Dave Roberts will make his decision. But Clayton Kershaw, I fully believe he's going to come back healthy. It seemed like he was rather optimistic about this back injury, and usually these type of things have only kept him out 4 weeks, 5 weeks tops. That's going to give him about 3 weeks to get fully stretched out, and maybe the rest will actually benefit him, because I just think back to 2020, how few games he played. He even hurt his back in the NLCS, was able to start the World Series and was dominant. So I have full faith that the greatest pitcher on planet Earth is going to be ready.
Also, I like the idea of him not pitching every 5th day. This break is really great. I mean, if the back injury isn't as serious as, you know, we're expecting it not to be, the fact is that he's not there. You're not putting any more miles on his arm. And that's great, because he could potentially be fresh.
Yeah.
We're about to be joined by one of our most loyal listeners, Steve, who is hopping on the incline. Steve, thank you so much for joining us this evening. You're one of our most active Twitter followers. You engage with us all the time. You ask great questions. You reached out to us to come on the show, so I wanted to give you the opportunity to, you know, share some thoughts, ask us a few questions. So why don't I do that right now?
Well, thank you. So I just went on a road trip with I got married in June, and my wife was living in Houston, so I saved her.
Congrats.
No, she's not an Astros fan. She's a Dodger fan.
There you go.
Originally from Riverside County, so I saved her from Houston. She did say that she rooted for the Astros in the World Series, but has recanted her opinion now after allegations.
Yeah.
But driving across country, I thought, why not listen to every episode starting at the beginning?
Wow.
How'd that go for you?
Yeah, I've not even done that.
Well, Kevin Klein, you are great, but I'm tired of hearing your voice.
Yeah. You're telling us, dude. You're speaking to the choir.
Yeah, Kevin's wife says the same thing.
It was one of those things where it's like, at the beginning, you were very, I don't know the word, but you were like, the Dodgers did this, and then this, and then this, and then this. It was like very circadian. It was like, and it, like, you were right. You messaged me on Twitter and you said that it didn't hit its stride until like September of 2019. It literally is when David joined the podcast.
Checks out, dude. Checks out.
Yeah.
And David, I'm not above saying, I've told my wife many times that you were like my spirit animal as a person.
Thank you very much.
We're very much alike. Like,
Yeah.
our opinions are opinions, and we are going to stick to them. And fuck you if you don't like. Oh, sorry.
Yep. No,
You
you're
can
good.
say it.
Swear away.
Yeah, sorry. But I do have some thoughts. And David, I agree with you with the out of left field. You guys used to do out of left field.
Yep.
I hate headlights. They're
Yep.
too bright. They're stupid. I'm there with you. I was listening to it, and I was like, yeah. I was listening to it at nighttime. When it was like, I was like, this is stupid. You're right.
Yep. They're too damn bright. We reached peak wattage in like 2003 or 2010 or something. Anything after that is ridiculous.
It was when they went for like the blue lights. Everybody went to the blue lights. It was stupid.
Yep.
But I do have a bone to pick with a couple guys. David, Bass are disgusting.
Oh,
You're not a
you
bath
had
guy?
David, you had a take about baths being good?
Yeah, I'm a huge bath guy.
Oh, God.
You didn't know
You
this?
literally said
No.
bath and then shower. No, it's shower then bath.
Dude, if you had given that opinion, I would have gone after you. I don't think I was on the show then.
Yeah, you were. This was
No,
pre
it was
you.
at the time.
Yeah.
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 And
I was post bath.
Yeah.
I re-listened to it today, and you guys are 100% wrong. Buffalo Wild Wings is the best sit-down restaurant ever.
He's going way
Wow,
back
wow.
to the restaurant chain episode. Yeah, I remember that.
I went
one.
to the COVID restaurants, and yeah. But Kevin, you literally said Will Smith would be the next AJ Ellis.
You said that?
I guess so.
Oh my God.
He's come around though. Kevin's come around.
Yeah.
He said-
Jeez.
There's so many. Oh, Chris Taylor just hit a home run.
Yeah, I
watched the
saw
Dodger
that.
game. I just moved from South San Diego to Riverside County, so I don't get Dodger games anymore. So I have to watch them on the StatCast. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, and bro, Kevin, you said that you would trade Diego Cartaya for Felipe Vasquez.
At the time, I'm sure Cartaya was like 17 and everyone wanted to trade Lux and May. So I was giving the people a more logical alternative.
I probably agreed with you on that one.
Hindsight is 2020, but obviously Vasquez is a horrible person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't hang out with Vasquez, so I didn't know what he was doing after.
Yeah,
Dodger.
hope not,
Kevin didn't do any background checks.
But I was laughing because I re-listened to it today when I was at work. And you and Ian both agreed that Joe Madden was better than Dave Roberts after the 2019 playoff debacle.
Yeah, well, after 2019, everyone was better than Dave Roberts.
Yeah.
And pick any manager. That was one of the worst postseason performances I've ever seen.
Him letting Kershaw.
So bad.
Yeah, I know.
So bad.
PTSD.
I do remember that. I slammed my phone down and said 106 wins pissed away.
Yep.
Where are my good takes? I am the first one to say Mookie Betts should be a Dodger, and I got laughed at saying he's overrated.
You did. I have been listening to them again like the last couple of days, you did say that Mookie Betts was going to be great, but you also said David Price was going to be great, and we've all know that he's not.
Again, a guy that opted out of 2020. He was electrifying in spring training, and then he basically had chemo. Wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. David, I got to tell you one thing.
Yep.
Soup Plantation is the greatest restaurant.
Rest in
Mine is
peace.
Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm there with you.
Rest in peace. Also, Soup Plantation.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Jake is just learning about the past of the incline.
I'm just happy I'm getting off scot-free here. At least during the interim here. I don't know if Steve's got anything else.
I have an hour and a half drive home from work every day, so I was re-listening to the final bracket there, and I was like, Buffalo Wild Wings, and then Soup Plantation, and then Benihana was the best.
Fair.
I'd say Benihana clears that.
So did I, but I got outvoted.
My wife, I got married on June 2nd this year, and my first date was Benihana. So I'm there.
It's a very good first date place.
Yeah, it is.
All right, Steve, you got any hard-hitting questions for us before we let you go?
Okay.
Anything.
How many wins do the Dodgers have this year? Because I posted on Twitter that the Dodgers would win 110 games plus. So what do you guys at?
I mean, at this rate, I think 110 sounds spot on.
I will say 108.
Yeah, I'm in that range too. I think they definitely surpass their record of 106.
They're currently on pace for 113.
Yeah.
I think we might see down the stretch maybe, a couple of these games that they're not really invested in, spots start, or maybe they're, mixing up the lineup or giving guys rest or whatever. We may lose a couple of those games down the stretch. So that might affect things. But yeah, I mean, if they keep going at this rate, they're going to win 113 easy.
Yeah, and I hope they rest some guys the last week of the season, because we don't need another repeat of what happened with Muncy.
Oh my God, yeah.
So yeah, last week or two of the season, I hope they kind of stagger these guys' playing times.
Yeah, and Freddie Freeman said he doesn't want to come out of the lineup until they clinch the NL West. So let's clinch it soon.
Next month.
Yeah, I think early September.
I'm there with you guys. Yeah. I just want to say I appreciate you guys like every week. It's my best listen.
We appreciate you,
Thanks,
Steve.
I think my wife gets tired of me talking about you guys.
Yeah, come on anytime and roast Kevin. We loved it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I have enough material to roast Kevin, because I have listened to every one of you guys' podcasts. Like, I found you guys it was like September 2020.
Yeah.
I was listening to a daily podcast, which I'm not going to list, but it was a daily podcast, and they were horrible.
Yeah.
And I did a search and found you guys, and it's been magic ever since.
We appreciate.
We really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Steve.
So,
I hope you like me. Hope you like me.
I do, Kevin. You're great. Your takes are hilarious on Twitter. Kevin, you're great. David, you're hilarious. Like, I love your you're a lot like me. You're like, screw you. This is my opinion. If you don't like it, too bad.
You're goddamn right. And I feel like I got off easy as opposed to Kevin, but I appreciate you.
And Jake, you're great on Twitter too.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you guys.
All right,
All
Steve.
right, Steve. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
Sounds good.
Later, man.
Bye.
All right.
Steve coming with the receipts. I thought for sure I was going to get slammed because I know I had a couple of bad ones in there.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel like Kevin kind of got the
He
brunt.
got the shit end of the stick for sure.
I'm the most expressive. What can I say? I think Jake got out free because he was listening to the throwback episodes where the old comrade Ian was a focal point.
Yeah, and he really went in on the restaurant bracket, which was the one episode I wasn't there for.
Yes.
I mean, I was a part of the podcast, but not on that one.
No, you weren't.
You were not there yet.
Ian was part of that one.
Oh, so I guess we did it twice because I missed the other one.
We did
then,
it
too.
once. We might have talked about restaurants in general, but there was
we did like a whole bracket. And like,
oh, I'm aware of that. I
you
thought
must have listened to it and thought you were part of it.
Yeah, well, that checks out.
All right, let's get back to business here.
Woo!
So
We missed
Max
Taylor
Muncy.
home run though. That was great.
Yep.
Yes, Chris Taylor going yard. He's been pretty productive ever since coming back off the IL. Small sample size, but I fully believe in him being a major contributor. It's the Muncy show, though. Ever since it turned August, his last 8 games, he's been electrifying. He's basically along the slash line of 375 batting average, 400 on base, 875 slugging, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs during that stretch. And unlike earlier in the season where his eye was definitely there, but when he would make contact with the baseball, it wasn't going far. Now it's all come back to fruition. He looks like vintage Max Muncy. And what of a hell of a trade deadline pickup for the Dodgers, because they didn't actually have to move anyone. They just got back the Max Muncy of old. And when you have Max Muncy in your lineup, the 2018 through 2021 guy, we're talking about a 35 home run power hitter and one of the best eyes in all of baseball, being able to command the strike zone and not swing at a lot of outside pitches. So a huge ad for the Dodgers. And I think Muncy is going to be a key contributor in the postseason.
I just want to live react to something real quick. Evan Phillips just owned Carlos Correa. Anyway, yeah. What I want to say about Max Muncy is what I also want to say about Justin Turner and Cody Bellinger. Now, those 3 players we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast, and Dodgers fans have had to kind of go through it with all of these guys. They've each had their moments of struggling mightily. And it's been it was a tough watch there at certain points during the season for each of these players. Now, the one thing that I want to say about all 3 of them is the fact that the Dodgers are so good that they can literally just let these guys do what they do and not really have to worry about them because of Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, Freddie Freeman, Gavin Lux, and Will Smith. Period. Name me another squad where you take Max Muncy, Justin Turner, and Cody Bellinger, who on a majority of the teams out there, you put those 3 guys on that roster, they become the 3 best hitters on that team. And what team could survive with those 3 players struggling for them? Not many. The Dodgers, on the other hand, have the benefits of patience, and they can allow them to go through the motions, trust the process, and all of that stuff. Not to mention the pitching staff has been absolutely brilliant. So it is a luxury because the Dodgers have that luxury. They've been able to build a massive lead in the NL West without those players producing not a lot. I mean, of what we're used to seeing them produce. It's just an amazing thing. This period of time in Dodgers baseball is probably the best well-oiled machine that they've ever been in their history.
I agree. I think the only stretch that ever rivals this is the 2017. I think it was 43-7 stretch. I want to say something like that.
It was like 42-8 or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was one off. No, maybe I was right now.
42-8 is 2013. 43-7 is 2017.
Whatever. Let's bring Steve back on. Maybe he remembers what we said.
Yeah. True. He did have a pretty good memory.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. And what we talked about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, maybe 6 weeks ago, is the Dodgers were only getting production from the top 3 in the order and Gavin Lux. And the second this team started getting production from Justin Turner, a little bit from Muncy, and a little bit from Bellinger here and there, those guys stopped being automatic outs. That's when this team kicked it into gear. There was no more giant size hole in the middle of the order. Now you're seeing the entire lineup produce, and you have guys like Trace Thompson who came out of nowhere. You have other additions who can't even get at bats at this point, who are all contributing. Hanser Alberto has been better. He's hitting the ball better. He's playing good defense, and it's a well-oiled machine if I've ever seen one.
And it's going to continue that way because they didn't give up the farm for Juan Soto. So when the old bunch is ready to hang it up, the next wave is going to be maybe even better. And when I saw the rumored ask price for Juan Soto from the Dodgers, I kind of just laughed in their faces. They wanted Bobby Miller and Cartaya for sure. Then they wanted, it was like 2 of the 4 or 3 of the 5, something Pepio, Vargas, I think Outman was in there, Stone, and then one other prospect. And then they wanted apparently 3 wild card prospects.
Here's what I think happened.
The Dodger tax. I agree I know what you're going to say, and I agree.
Okay. Yeah. The Dodgers tax. What I was going to say about that is I think what the Nationals did was they looked at the Dodgers and said, we really don't want to give Juan Soto to the Dodgers. We really don't. I think that would disrupt the power balance in Major League Baseball. So let's see if we can, fleece them. And if that happens, then we don't care. We'll give Juan Soto to the Dodgers because of the haul we're getting back. But Andrew Friedman's not an idiot. Brandon Gomes is not an idiot. They know they were operating from a position of strength. They didn't need Juan Soto. We've been saying it all along. Juan Soto would be great. We don't need them. The Padres, desperate as all hell, always, all the time, needed Juan Soto. Still do. And I think that the way that the Padres are playing right now, which isn't great, I think they'll figure it out. I don't think they're going to be this bad the rest of the way. I just think they need time to gel. Juan Soto needs time to adjust. I think he's dealing with a lot of pressure. He looks terrible out in the outfield. Manny Machado has regressed. They're getting Tatis back. So I would put the pause button on, saying that the Padres are cooked at this point, because until Tatis comes back, we don't really know.
Yeah.
But in terms of Soto, I'm glad we didn't get him. I really am. We didn't need him. It would have been nice to have him, but breaking the bank to get him would not have been the right move. And I'm glad we stand.
The Padres suck, but I'll get to that in a few minutes. I want to retort Jake's statement real quick, and then I'll let you go and do. So you said that they don't want to trade Soto to the Dodgers, but as a GM, don't you want the best possible return? And the Dodgers, without a doubt, have that. And
yes,
unlike some opinions, I think that the Nationals were dead set on trading Soto at the deadline, no matter what. Even if it was an offer they were going to be underwhelmed with, I think there was too much pressure that they were going to trade him. So I don't know why they would actually overtax the Dodgers unless this was just a bargaining play so that the Padres would actually piggy up more, because maybe they were under the impression that Friedman and Gomes weren't actually that into it to begin with.
That's certainly possible. And I think that could be the case. But the way I see it is that I think that the Nationals were trying to get as much as possible for Soto. And if the Dodgers were to say that they didn't want Soto going to the Padres or whatever the case is, the Nationals were going to try to get as much as possible with the understanding that maybe the Dodgers wouldn't budge, and they didn't. I also think that is true, that they tried to drive the price up with the Padres. And AJ Preller, I mean, it's just like, it's like a freaking free buffet on the farm there for them.
So here's what I think happened. I agree with both of you. I think the Nationals didn't not want to trade him to the Dodgers. I think they wanted the most possible return. And the way you're going to do that, the most possible return you can get is from the Dodgers. So I think Rizzo, the Nationals GM, is playing both sides. But what I really want to talk about is I think Andrew Friedman stuck to his guns. I think he made a legitimate, serious offer to the Nationals for Soto, and he wasn't going to go above that price. And in doing so, and in continuing negotiations, I think he legitimately made AJ Preller up his deal and give up more than what he wanted. I think he put him in the blender. I think Andrew Friedman for years has put AJ Preller's brain in a pretzel. I think he has not successfully completed a legitimate trade that has paid off for them since the Fernando Tatis trade. I think he feels Andrew Friedman when he sleeps, when he closes his eyes, he sees Andrew Friedman. That is what AJ Preller's life is. So I didn't think AJ Preller was going to be denied under any circumstance, unless the Dodgers ponied up significantly more than what the Padres ended up paying. I think that was going to be the case. I don't think the Dodgers were ever going to seriously consider the trade that Kevin had mentioned, which was the rumored ask of the Dodgers. And I think Friedman probably got them to throw in one more prospect for sure. So once again, yes.
I mean, I agree, but I also think Rizzo isn't as smart as we think, because first of all, they initially accepted the trade with Eric Hosmer in the deal until he vetoed it.
And but that's a minor hiccup.
Why do you want Eric Hosmer's contract on your books?
Well, Second the Padres ended up paying that contract. They threw in
Josh Bell like he's a crouton. Why not try to trade Josh Bell to a contender and get more prospects? Because I think that what the Padres ended up giving up for
Josh the crouton Bell,
for what they gave up for Soto would have been enough on paper, but instead, like I said, they threw him on top like a.
But what is Soto? The Caesar salad? What is the analogy here?
Yeah, I guess he's the pizza. He's the Caesar salad. Josh Bell was the crouton.
Yeah.
Look, I agree with you on that.
The Nationals like doing that. I mean, they just threw in Trey Turner
Yeah,
randomly.
I feel like
Exactly.
he
That's a good
can
point.
get a little bit lazy. You get to the 20-yard line. You're like, all right, fine. You can have Josh Bell too. Like, yeah, I agree with that. But I still think they got a lot. I do think they got a lot. I think they got 4 legitimate prospects. Four of them.
Getting Gore out of that is huge.
Yeah, and like I said last week when we had who do we have on here?
Dusty Baker.
I think James Wood is going to be the best prospect in that deal. He's the youngest. He's in the lowest level of baseball right now. I think he's in single A. But he is a legitimate piece in that trade. And I think the Nationals did pretty well, aside from just throwing in Josh Bell. But like I said, I think AJ Preller is legitimately traumatized by Andrew Friedman, and he has nightmares.
All right, yeah, we'll get to the Padres, but I got to get to Cody Bellinger first because he was on the list that I want to talk about. Ever since the Dodgers moved him down to the 9 hole, it's been a godsend because over the last 9-game sample size, he's 9 for 31 as we're recording, 290 batting average, 2 home runs, which came in 1 Padres game. He's the only Dodger in a long span to have 2 multi-homer games against the Padres in one season. So the 2 home runs, 11 RBIs, 4 doubles, and 1 triple. The power is there, and he obviously provides you the great defense. But I mean, going down the stretch with Bellinger right now and the way he's swinging the bat, it's looking like it's lined up for him to have another explosive postseason.
That's what happened last year too. He started heating up at the end of 2021 and then went into the postseason on fire. So this is really good news for the Dodgers and Cody Bellinger. I think that 9 hole is honestly magic. You saw what happened with Gavin Lux. He became a hitter, and then they were able to move him up in the order, and he hasn't really skipped a beat. I think that batting someone 9th that not only has pop, but also speed is a brilliant move by Dave Roberts and company.
Yep. And I think hitting in front of Mookie Betts certainly helps as well. I mean,
Yep.
I can think back to Austin Barnes knocking out Blake Snell, and they lost the DH, or they lost the 9 hole essentially last season, but with the DH being back in play, they can use that 9 hole, and it's paying big dividends. All right, so let's get into this. The Dodgers, Padres met up, overhyped in my opinion, just more regular season games. I mean, to make this simple, the Dodgers absolutely humiliated the Padres. They outscored them 20-4 in the 3 games. 3 of those runs came because of a Gavin Lux error, and the other run came in garbage time when the Dodgers were already up 8-0. So moral of the story is the Padres are nowhere even near the Dodgers league right now. They don't intimidate me one bit. I think they can probably sneak into the playoffs now because they have the big 3, because I know Tatis is coming back. So they'll probably be a 5 or 6 seed. I don't think the Padres get any farther than the NLDS, though. And because the Dodgers were basically able to make this series not close, we didn't even see Josh Hader, who in his first big save situation with the Padres blew a 3-run save, and now his ERA is flirting with a 5. So Gonsolin, Anderson absolutely dealt. They both picked up their 13 wins on the season. Juan Soto and Manny Machado, I guess the Dodgers' game plan was perfectly scripted. Neither of those players were a factor whatsoever. And Profar, who I think kind of got a few extra base hits off the Dodgers, he was irrelevant too. And I don't even know what happened to Jake Cronenworth. Last season, he was kind of pesky. I can't recall him doing a single thing against the Dodgers this season.
You mean all-star Jake Cronenworth?
Yeah. Worst all-star ever.
University of Michigan product, Jake Cronenworth. We respect him on this podcast. Respect the Crone Zone.
Only you, 1/3 of this podcast. Yeah, the Padres just weren't ready for the Dodgers. They just weren't. They were kind of all over the place. The moment got to them. The crowd was into it.
Yep.
You saw Machado. There was one play where it went off his glove and then it trickled into the outfield, and he made 0 effort to go after it. I mean, that kind of just goes along with the whole Johnny Hustle type of deal that he's been known for, that he doesn't hustle. I mean, it's clear as day.
That was pathetic.
That was pathetic. As a leader of that team, as the guy in the middle of that order, the guy that's supposed to be the leader with Tatis out. I mean, that's just a terrible look. I mean, he allowed no run actually scored on that play, but he allowed Mookie Betts to move up to third, and then Mookie eventually came in to score. So to me, that was terrible. All of the Padres quotes too after the series.
We're gonna
yeah,
get
we
into
got-
one of them later.
Yeah, we got to get into one of those in a second. Just want to quickly jump back in. But
tease ahead.
Boomer Bob Melvin's face when Max Muncy hit that annihilated 3-run home run off Mike Clevenger. Dude looks like he just found out his wife slept with his neighbor. Classic.
It was all Jace
Joey
Tingler's
Gallo.
fault, though, right?
Joey Gallo 3-run homer.
That's what you like to see, ladies and gentlemen.
Pinch
Yes.
hit, 3-run
We will-
bomb. He pinch hit for Hanser Alberto.
Davey
Wow,
Roberts.
that's a Joey Gallo legacy moment right there.
Yep.
We will talk more Joey Gallo too, but
Opposite field also.
let's get into those quotes, David, if you have one up.
Well, I am going to save one for the end. If you are familiar with what we do at the end of our show,
Yes.
What
something of the week.
what
I
position
have
does he play?
third base.
Okay, then the other one is the Will Myers one, where he just got shredded to death and ratioed so bad because he said something along the lines, I can't even remember, but so after the Dodgers got blown out by the Padres, they asked Will Myers something about the Dodgers, I guess, and his response was, I think we put too much emphasis on this team, in quotes or in parentheses, the Dodgers. Will Myers said, and I think once the season gets going down the road, after we play together, these games will be different. Well, Will, I have a couple thoughts on that. First of all, you think there's too much emphasis on the Dodgers? You've been constructing your guys' roster the last 4 years to essentially try to be the Dodgers. And every time they come to town or we go to Petco, all this buzz, this is a rivalry, this is a big series, it's must-watch TV. And I think the Dodgers have won 17 of the last 19 games. And for the most part, it has not been close. And
Can I
second
just
of all-
say, sorry, can I respond to that real quick?
Yeah.
If you're a team in the NL West not named the Los Angeles Dodgers, who else are you worried about? Like, all the emphasis should be put on the Dodgers. That's the only thing AJ Preller knows that. Why doesn't just a weird quote from Will Myers. Also, like, weak quote. A quote from a weak-minded player on a weak-minded team.
Yep.
I'm just going to leave it at that. So my final thoughts are the Dodgers have 3 more series left with the Padres. I think the Dodgers have won 8 of the 10 games they've played so far, leaving 9 games left. Maybe the Padres figure it out and take one of these series. But like I said earlier in the podcast, if we face San Diego in the postseason, I'm not scared one bit. I think of the 5 stars they could throw at us, Blake Snell poses the biggest threat just because something in his mechanics and arsenal is just something the Dodgers can't figure out. Yu Darvish is probably second, although the Dodgers have had more success against him lately and they've won the majority of his starts. And then Joe Musgrove has actually been in a kind of a big pitching slump and has not fared well against the Dodgers at all this season. And then Mike Clevenger got bombed. So
Bad. Isn't
yeah.
good. Isn't good.
Yeah. Overrated.
Annoying motion.
So that's what the Dodgers would have to worry about. Just doesn't scare me.
I think
Well-
we're going to go ahead, David. Sorry.
So look, right now the Padres are still a joke. They are. Yes, they got Soto. Yes, I said everything I said last week about how they won the trade deadline. They're the number 1 threat, in my opinion, in the National League. That is all on one giant contingency, and his name is Fernando Tatis. That guy is that entire team. I don't care that you have Soto. I don't care that you have Machado. Tatis is the Padres. When he's playing well, they are a legitimate team. When he's not there or he's not playing well, they're nothing. So we don't really know what they're going to be like. We don't until we see him come back. Soto has more time to gel, even though he's playing well. I think Hader's going to pitch better than he did yesterday when he blew a 4-run lead, but we just don't know. They're an enigma in my mind.
On the episode about the trade deadline, or after the trade deadline, I said, let's wait and see on the Padres. Let's see what happens. They have a lot to prove. In fact, they have everything to prove. And they've never proved anything ever at any point in their history. So that's why I would caution against saying that, they're a juggernaut at this point. The Dodgers have a few more meetings with them. In fact, a ton of meetings coming up in September. So we're going to see what they're made of in that month. And we'll be able to tell in that month what they're made of and what we can expect from the playoffs, because I assume Tatis will be back by then. And once he's back, then we can really determine what kind of team we're dealing with. But until that happens, I'm still going to just wait and see, because there's really nothing else we can do. And there's no history to suggest that they're going to all of a sudden become not the Padres.
And by then, the Dodgers probably will have clinched the division and will be resting a bunch of their starters, so we won't really actually have anything to go off of.
Well, we can see how they're gelling and how they look for sure.
I mean, depends who we're throwing out there. If it's
it also depends on how they do against the rest of the league,
which has not been superior, because they're below 500, or they're below 500 against teams with a record above 500. Mm-hmm. So we know David's answer. Dub Quacker 7 is asking the panel, looking into the postseason, which team scares you the most? His pick is the Mets. I'm also going to say the Mets. There's honestly no reason not to say the New York Mets are the biggest threat right now to the Los Angeles Dodgers. American League wise, I'm not actually intimidated by any of the teams. I think we're a lot better than the Astros. The Yankees have sure slipped. I think we could beat them regardless. The Atlanta Braves would rank second, but I don't think they are as good as they were last season. And I think a big factor in why they beat us is because the Dodgers were so banged up. But right now, looking at experience,
and they also had Freddie Freeman.
And yes, we took Freddie Freeman. That is also a great point. But just to close my thoughts, the Mets are playing great baseball right now. They have the second best record in the sport. Jacob deGrom is back. Max Scherzer is back and healthy for now. But I mean, what they have with deGrom potentially is like a 60-game 2020 season. So he'll be very fresh if he's healthy. They have Lindor, who's been to a World Series. Alonso leads the National League in RBIs. They're a pretty great defensive team. They got Escobar, Starling Marte, Mark Canha, along with some other great bats. Like they picked up Darren Ruff, who's kind of been a thorn in the Dodgers side. And they just have
big sexy.
Yes, he's walking out to the milkshake song.
Chonky, dude. He's so chonky.
He's actually got some underrated speed. He can get around the bases.
I love him. He is a fan favorite.
He is a baseball player. And when you think of all shapes and sizes, he comes to mind.
So when the Dodgers,
there was a minute there where I got him confused with Rowdy Tellez, but they're no longer on the same team.
Yeah, talk about a chonk duo at first, dude.
So if the Dodgers play the Mets in the postseason, it'll likely come in the National League Championship Series, which benefits the Dodgers, in my opinion, because 7 games is way more appealing than 5, especially with the 2 main starters on the Mets I talked about. But they have a deep rotation.
Don't sleep on Diaz, bro.
I'm getting to their bullpen has been pretty solid too. And Diaz is the best closer in baseball, and he is going to hit the free agent market. And he's definitely someone I want the Dodgers to target.
Here's my response to who you're most afraid of. And again, I know that the Mets look great right now, but they still have to prove a lot to me for me to be even worried. And a big
Max Scherzer is as proven as it gets.
Yeah, but he also gets hurt a lot. And so does deGrom. So I
wouldn't say a lot. He's won like 3 Cy Youngs.
Well, he's a lot older.
DeGrom, yes.
Scherzer's a lot older. He freaking fell apart for the Dodgers. So I don't, until they show me that they're healthy and ready for the postseason, then I'll tell you if I'm afraid of them or not. But right now I'm not, because we still have a long way to go. I'm most afraid of the Braves. The Braves, by and large, have a very similar roster the last few years. They're battle tested. They got the shit kicked out of them in 2020. They came back with a vengeance in 2021 and won the World Series. Yes, they lost Freddie Freeman, but they gained Matt Olson. And so it's sort of a lateral move for them, I think, in a lot of ways. They got Ronald Acuna Jr. back. So I think the Braves are the team to beat in the National League for the Dodgers until any other team comes along and surprises us. And also the team that I think will challenge the Dodgers most in the American League is the Astros. And I think that the Dodgers are better than the Astros, but God, I would love to see an Astros Dodgers World Series more than anything. I'd love to see that.
I agree. I think the Astros are the only team in the American League who is even remotely a threat. I think someone like the Mariners could get hot, but I was right about the Yankees. They're frauds. They've been awful the past month.
Without Gallo.
I mean,
Yep.
the Dodgers had a similar slip in 2017. So let's see what happens in the postseason.
Yeah, it's fair, but they're historically choking. Their bullpen's falling apart.
Not historically. Come on.
Well, in
Recently.
recent history, yes. I mean, you got Chapman serving one up every other postseason, who's now got promoted to the 7th inning.
Yeah, there were 27 times they didn't choke.
Well, half of those they were playing like plumbers against Babe Ruth or whatever. So let's
Okay, JJ Redick.
Yeah, I mean, what are we doing here?
JJ Redick.
I don't count like half of those championships, bro. Come on.
But yeah, you said Babe Ruth is the greatest player of all time. So now you're kind of contradicting yourself.
No, I mean, I still think he was the best player of all time, but it's not his fault he was playing against plumbers. I still think he had the
hurts
skill.
your argument.
No, I mean, if you put Babe Ruth in this era, he probably gets waxed, but that's not fair.
Yeah, well, he's also swinging a 40-ounce bat too. So.
Yeah, and like eating hot dogs and like smoking cigarettes on the field. So like,
can we bring that back?
yeah, it'd be pretty hype. Remember Jim Leland in the dugout? That was electric.
Oh yeah, hacking darts left and right.
Yeah. Speaking of chonk, we got Reyes Maranta in the bullpen right now.
Ever since they banned chewing tobacco, the grit is just not the same.
Yeah, but
don't
kidding. Do that if you're a kid when listening to this.
Totally was
Don't throw curveballs.
All right, so is that all we need to talk about with the biggest threats? We are all split here. We all have valid reasons for why we are concerned, and
yeah, I think we're all squared up there for now.
So this is the perfect segment because we want to talk about it anyways. From another great listener, young Jeremy 18 on Twitter. Thoughts so far on the Joey Gallo experience? And then he goes on to say he loves the podcast. He's seeing some changes in his swing.
Yeah,
his own swing. Whose swing?
Joey Gallo.
Okay.
Carry on. He hit a 3-run homer tonight as we were recording live. So I mean, I'm not gonna, start, yelling from the mountaintops here that he is him. I think that
I will. But go
okay,
ahead.
well then you can do that. But I mean, I'm gonna just. I just think that there's a lot of caution that we have to, a lot of pause we should give until we see a couple of more of these, strung together. But I like what I'm seeing so far. I think that, he was someone that I don't think the Dodgers really needed. It's clear because it's hard to find playing time for him. And I think that, it's a good problem to have when you got all these guys coming back, Chris Taylor, Justin Turner. It's going to be hard for them to find at bats for Gallo. Obviously they're going to platoon him, but even against Sonny Gray tonight, they sat him down. So yeah, it's going to be tough to find at bats, but I mean, I like what I see so far for sure.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Kev.
Oh, I was just saying, I love the Joey Gallo ad. Like I said last week, he probably will mostly be a pinch hit option, but just like we saw with the 3-run home run, that's a huge threat off the bench. Was at the game yesterday. He roped a 112 mile per hour double, which was the second hardest base hit recorded by a Dodger this season. Yeah, the strikeouts suck. He's going to have a lot of those. But what he provides with the glove, just knowing that you can substitute him later in games and you have a good defensive left fielder out there, along with the power bop, him and Trace Thompson, that is one sexy combo that you can play in the outfield and coming off your bench.
Yeah, so I am pretty in the middle. I think I've seen some bad and I've seen some solid from him so far as a Dodger, but they don't need him to be a superstar. They just need him to have a couple productive at bats here and there, maybe come off the bench, get on base via walk, because he's the definition of a true 3 outcome player, strikeout, walk, home run, and hit a couple home runs. That's it. That's all they really need from him.
All right, let's get into some injury updates real quick. Dustin May, as everyone knows, is slated to make one more rehab start. So far in Oklahoma City, 14 innings pitched, 23 strikeouts. Looks like based off everything we're hearing from the media, he is fully prepared to become a starter, at least in the regular season. Then we talked about Kershaw on the IL. Yency Almonte was placed on the IL with a elbow discomfort type of injury, but according to him, it's nothing serious. I hope so. Brusdar Graterol should be back in about 8 days. And obviously he's one of Robert's go-tos for whatever reason. He loves to use him all the time out of the bullpen. And then Blake Trinan, we've been hearing his name a lot. I'm kind of surprised that he won't be back till the start of September, because I feel like he's been finding his element and doing non-game types of throwing for like a month now, but that's what they have him at. Blake Trinan returning in September.
I found it funny.
They said he hit 98 his last simulated game, I want to say. So I mean, if they had a 1-game lead in the division, I think you'd see him a lot earlier than the 1st of September. So if he's good, then he's great. You know, there's no reason to, push it. They're what do they have? 16 in the division. I mean, you don't need him right now, which is nuts, but you don't even need him at all. So I would like to see him earlier just so we get some game experience. But a month before the playoffs is plenty of time to get right.
They got their guy, Chris Martin, anyways. You guys laughed at me, but he's recorded 15 of the last 16 batters he's faced so far.
No, he's been good.
He had an FU strikeout to Machado.
Yeah. I don't know if I trust him.
I don't trust him at all, but I like what I see.
No, he's a World Series champion and a high leverage arm in years past. Yes.
Yeah.
Bellinger beat him.
Talk to Cody Bellinger about that.
But that's just disrespecting Bellinger, because Cody Bellinger was an elite player in 2020. So sometimes the better hitter beats the pitcher.
Got our guy.
We did. Zach McKinstry, I don't even know how he's doing with the Cubs, but I'm sure he's getting more at bats than the 6 he got in Los Angeles this season. And he's on
So
Instagram
sad.
posting pictures of eating pizza all the time. He's loving it out there. So,
well,
good old
is he getting everyday opportunities out there?
like I said, I don't know.
I would imagine he is.
I would hope, but after this, the Dodgers go to Kansas City. They're going to play the Kansas City Royals for 3 games in Kauffman Stadium.
Love that park. Beautiful.
I have not been there, but that's good insight. So if I ever make it, they probably will be missing Zach Greinke. Unfortunately, it looks like he is scheduled to pitch in the next 2 days, or today or tomorrow. I don't really know what else there is going on in the Royals other than Bobby Witt Jr. is apparently the fastest player in baseball.
Not a lot, Kevin.
Not a lot, but Bobby Witt Jr. is the fastest player in baseball apparently. And Salvador Perez is still hitting nukes. Other than that, nothing. Then they got the Brewers. We got 2 series with the Brewers. Haven't faced them this season, obviously. We're going to Milwaukee first because, funny enough, they played them early in 2021. I want to say it was like in May, because I remember the Matt Beatty and Pollock 8 RBI games, and then they didn't play the next day in Chicago.
Are the Brewers the only National League team they haven't faced?
I think so.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else, so you're probably right.
Yeah.
Brewers are obviously in the hunt. They are a wild card team at the moment.
Marlins we've not faced yet.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have remembered if we faced Mattingly. I don't think we did, unless they came to Dodger Stadium, but I don't think.
No, they're coming. Yeah, I saw.
He's such an idiot.
Dodgers are apparently scheduled to face Corbin Burns. That would be a good test. They also might be facing Sandy Alcantara too. So I want to see the Dodgers face some good pitchers. They need to be tested so that they can be more prepared when the postseason arrives. You face the best of the best.
Yep.
Give them the challenges. All right. Let's go into your idiot of the week. I think it's time.
Okay, so I do have an idiot of the week, and I'm also going to add one. I'm also going to have a loser of the week, because there's just 2 things that I just have to bring up. So my idiot of the week is the social media manager for the San Antonio Missions, which are the AA affiliate of the San Diego Padres. And you might have seen this tweet, but if you didn't, I'm going to read it to you right now. So the tweet states, quote, "While not recording a hit, Fernando Tatis Jr. put the ball in play in all 3 of his at-bats tonight, ! And it shows a video of Fernando Tatis grounding out. Come on. Is this what we're doing? I understand that you're a AA team and you got Tatis playing for you and it's exciting, But come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? He put the ball in play in all 3 at bats, exclamation point. Stop it. Just full stop. Shut the hell up. Stop it. You look stupid. What are we celebrating? It makes your major league organization look even more pathetic than they already look over the last 50 years of their existence. You got your AA social media manager celebrating ground outs. Stop it. Idiot of the week, whoever that social media manager is, you are, I mean, that is just, you can't do that. You just can't.
It's one thing if you post like a picture of him and just give an update, like, hey, this is what Tatis did. He was 0 for 3, grounded out, blah, blah, blah. Just as an update, just like here's what happened tonight. Here he is. This is what he did. But to celebrate it with exclamation points and saying, wow, he put the ball in play. What was the contract extension he got?
Close to 500 million.
We're celebrating balls in play.
Tatis.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was 4 or something.
He better put the ball in play with that contract.
It's just what, I mean, come on, you got to be better. All right. So, Kevin, you got anything to say on that? Or
can Craig Kimbrell get through a damn inning without giving
14
up a
years,
base runner?
$340 million was his extension.
Yeah.
Could be a bargain in the long run, but he's very injury prone. He's like the Anthony Davis of his sport, in my opinion. What I want to say is just, people in San Antonio, they got their Spurs, but they don't really know much about sports other than that. They are still clinging to the fact that they think Tim Duncan was a better ball player than Kobe Bryant. So you can't take their take serious. So that's all I'll say.
Yeah, but if someone is saying he put the ball in play 3 times, that's
the exclamation point for me. That's what it is. But
that's someone that knows something about baseball. I mean, someone that doesn't know anything about baseball is not using that phrase. I'm not saying it's the most sophisticated phrase, but it's a very if you watch baseball, that's what you say. If they didn't know baseball, they would have said he got 3 hits, but got out every time.
It's a sad organization. It doesn't surprise me at this point.
All right. So my loser of the week is also San Diego Padres related, and it's Manny Machado. Post game, after the sweep, reporter asked him, "So are you worried about the Dodgers?" And he said no. And the reporter was like, "Well, why?" "Because I'm Manny fucking Machado." End quote. Absolute loser of the year quote, dude. Shut up. That is one of the lamest things I've ever heard in my entire life. First of all, you didn't show up for the series. Second of all, you had that whole altercation with Fernando Tatis last year where you yelled in his face, you became a meme, and you basically were just yelling at him. It's not about you. It's not about you. So what do you say after the game? I'm Manny fucking Machado. That's why I'm not worried about the Dodgers. First of all, it's not an individual's game. You're on a team. So your team should probably be worried about the Dodgers because they've kind of put you in a blender for the last 50 years, and especially recently. So absolute loser quote of the year by far. Can't think of a more loser quote I've heard this year.
243 lifetime hitter against the Dodgers. He does not show up.
Also, I just would like to counter that by saying I can't think of anybody on the Dodgers that would give a quote even close to that.
No, it wouldn't happen.
Which is what I love about this team is they're literally all business. Nothing leaks out of that clubhouse. Dave Roberts, whatever you want to say about his in-game stuff, he's a terrific clubhouse manager. He's done an amazing job with a ton of egos since 2016, dealing with everyone that's come through those doors, including Manny Machado. So to me, every time something bad happens with Manny Machado, he has the worst quote, like the Johnny Hustle quote. That was awful. That he became a meme from that too. And every time he becomes a meme, it's a bad thing.
Assuming Craig Kimbrell doesn't blow it, because what does Craig do? He always allows runners on. The Dodgers are probably going to hold on and win their 10th consecutive game, sweep their 3rd consecutive series, and be a 77-33 win team. That's 34 games above 500.
Craig just gave up a run.
As we were talking intermission, it's even hard to just think about when the Dodgers have recently lost because they've just been on a roll right now.
Can I just interject? I want David's take on this.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on with Craig? Why can't he do anything? Why does he do this every time? He has a 4-run lead. It should be 3 up, 3 down. No problem.
I don't know.
That's David's guy.
I know. That's why I wanted to ask him.
I am kind of running out of answers on Craig Kimbrell.
What on earth is happening?
It's just there's no clean innings. I mean, I saw a stat. This is probably even worse now, but it was 7 of his 40 appearances were clean innings.
All right, he just got out of it and ended the game.
So 33 of his 40 appearances, his first 40 appearances were not clean innings, and that you can't be doing that in the playoffs. So I honestly think this last month and a half is his audition. If he can fucking tighten it up and get it together, otherwise you're not gonna be pitching in the 9th inning, let alone in the playoffs at all.
He's really the only liability on this team.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's
serious liability.
Yeah, and it's not a liability in the regular season when you got a 20-game lead in division, but he's still getting the saves. It's just not really pretty. When's the last time he blew a game? He hasn't really blown a game at all recently. So he's getting the results. It's just really ugly.
Because he's always thrown in 3 or 4 run leads. We haven't really seen him in a 1-run situation, which is going to happen in the postseason.
Right.
But in
a 3-run lead, I feel good about it.
It's not just him getting hit though. It's his command. He gave up a run tonight. He threw a wild pitch. That's pretty much his MO. He puts runners on base and then they come around to score on wild pitches. Come on, Mark Pryor. What's going on here?
He's got a month and a half. Otherwise, he's not going to be seeing any 9th innings.
Too old to be fixed.
But seriously, though, that's why having Trinan healthy and ready for the postseason is paramount for this team.
Yep. And I would manage Evan Phillips's innings too while we're at it. You need that 1-2 punch.
I don't think Kimbrell will be closing any ball games out.
I don't want to hear "Sweet Child of Mine" in the playoffs. I don't.
I think, so we'll see where Trinan's at, but I'm ready to make Evan Phillips the closer. Said that a few weeks ago. He's their best reliever, active right now. And in my opinion, you just gotta, I don't care. Saves is overrated. It's the heart of the order. So if it's in the 8th inning, you use Evan Phillips there. If it's in the 9th inning, you save him for there. But I want Evan Phillips facing the best hitters on the opposition when it matters most. And he proved that against the 100%. Giants when he came in with the bases loaded and nobody else out twice.
Yeah.
And he was unscathed. I think the stat was he's faced 9 or 10 batters with the bases loaded and has not allowed a single run. So
that'll play.
He is legitimate.
That will play.
That's going to conclude this week's episode. So if there's any final thoughts or takes or questions, you can present those right now.
Yeah. What's that painting behind you, David? What is that?
It is George Washington crossing the Delaware. It was a gift and it's beautiful.
Sure it was. Was it a gift from Blake Trinan?
No, but he would love it.
Yeah, he would.
Okay.
Here's a final thought. Sorry. I got sidetracked there. I wanted to say this at the beginning, but I was going to save it for the final thought. And I think this team is probably the best I've ever seen. Just up and down, just in terms of complete teams. This is the best. But how wonderful is it that we're not sweating out every single game like we did last year? I mean, it just was excruciating, not only watching the Dodgers play and the offense would just absolutely evaporate at a moment's notice. But then on top of that, the Giants just didn't lose. So
which is more of what it was.
What?
That was what it was more. I mean, come on. They were not that bad in the second half, but
no, I'm not saying that the Dodgers were bad. But what I am saying is that it heightened those games so much more because the Giants were playing well and if the Giants were, I think this Dodgers team would clear last year's Dodgers team and also clear the Giants. I think the Dodgers win the division with this squad in 2021.
Yep.
So to me, yeah, while they did win 106 wins, it was like one of the weaker 106 win teams that I've ever seen. I mean, it just was excruciating watching that team during different moments of the year. And this year, I'm just, never worried when they're behind. They were behind in this game. I was never worried at any point that they weren't going to be able to come back. And if they didn't, so what? But it's like still to have that feeling watching these games every single night is like, they're never worried. Whereas last year they couldn't come back from any deficit. They were terrible in extra innings. So that's something that I think is just huge this year versus last year.
Well, they haven't been great in extra innings this year either, but they've also been avoiding it a lot.
Right.
Which is nice. But I mean, this team is better. They've proven it by now. They're also a lot healthier. I mean, last season we basically missed Seager for half the year. We've upgraded with Freddie Freeman, so got to take that into consideration. Didn't have Trey Turner in the lineup in the first half. When they got him, they were rolling. Trevor Bauer drama really set this team back. The injuries to Kershaw. It was basically Buehler and Urias until they added Scherzer. A lot of bullpen games. We have not seen, I think, even one bullpen game this season. And according to our friend Blake Harris, the Dodgers over their last 162 games are 118-44.
Whoa.
So according to him, is officially the greatest 162 game stretch by any MLB team in the expansion era.
So post Plummer era, basically.
Yes.
That beats the famous 2001 Mariners because they had 116 wins.
It sure does. So yeah, Friedman fixed their holes at the deadline last season, made the necessary adds like Evan Phillips, who they added, I think it was August 3rd of last season. He's been a juggernaut, and just the incredible depth pieces along the way, finding the Yency Almontes on like non-roster spring training invites, the complete package. Just Kimbrel really is the only weakness, like you guys said. So this Dodgers team is good. I'm ready for the postseason. Bring it. We got one more series against the Mets. I don't remember where that is in the rest of the season, but it will be in New York, so that should be exciting actually. And
I hope they get DeGrom and Scherzer for that.
Yeah, that would be big.
Yeah, I want to see how they handle that.
Yep.
All right, guys. Listeners, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Incline Dodgers podcast, powered by FanSided. Thanks again to Steve for hopping on the show and throwing in some nostalgia.
Hell yeah, Steve.
Grilling me, especially.
Yeah.
And we really need your guys' support. Please, if you like the podcast, give us a 5-star rating on Apple. If you're a loyal and every week listener, it'll really help us go a long way. So please do that.
And drop a comment too on Apple.
Yeah, drop a comment. So with that being said, go Dodgers and have a great rest of your week. I'll be in Nashville, the home of Mookie Betts.